I will confess. I took him. I left him in the forest to die. I did it for my son. I want my son to inherit this kingdom. Your enemy was not your wife alone. Elder Maduka is your biggest enemy. He is the one who ordered my death.
The entire village remained frozen. The old elder, Elder Maduka, had disappeared into the darkness. The spirit of Ngozi had vanished, and the sacred shrine stood silent once again. Only the sound of Ezene's crying remained. Chief Obiora could barely stand. For 30 years, Elder Maduka had been his closest friend. They had built farms together, shared meals, fought wars. He had trusted him more than his own brothers. Now the spirit of his dead wife had accused him of murder. The chief looked at Kelechi and Chinedu. The twins stood beside each other like two halves of a broken mirror finally joined. And for the first time in 20 years, Chief Obiora realized something painful. His family had not been destroyed by strangers. It had been destroyed from within. That night, nobody slept. The villagers gathered around fires. Some believed the spirit. Others feared that evil forces had entered the shrine. But one person knew the truth. Ezine. She sat alone inside her room. Her body shook. Because 20 years earlier, Elder Maduka had come to her shortly after Ngozi's death. He had whispered dangerous words. If your son must inherit this kingdom, the younger twin must disappear. She had agreed. But she had never asked why. Now she understood. She had been a tool, and the true snake had remained hidden. Before dawn, Kelechi walked alone to the old Iroko tree where he had been abandoned. The moon still hung in the sky. The forest was silent. Suddenly, he heard footsteps. He turned. Mama Ada stood behind him. The old woman's eyes were filled with tears. There is something I never told you. Kelechi listened quietly. The night I found you, another person was there. Kelechi frowned. Who? She reached into her wrapper and removed a small leather pouch. Inside was a silver ring. The symbol of Chief Obiora's household was engraved upon it. But another symbol stood beside it. A serpent. Kelechi recognized it immediately. The ring belonged to Elder Maduka. He dropped it that night, Mama Ada said. Kelechi's blood turned cold. He was there. The old woman nodded. He saw me take you away. Why didn't he stop you? Her voice trembled. Because he thought you would die. At sunrise, Kelechi presented the ring before the entire village. The people gasped. Chief Obiora nearly collapsed. The evidence could no longer be denied. The village priest spoke. Elder Maduka must be found. Young hunters entered the forest. Warriors searched the riverbanks. But the old man had vanished. Days passed. Then, on the third night, a fisherman arrived screaming. I saw him! The villagers gathered. The fisherman pointed toward the forbidden caves beside the river. The old elder went into the caves. Fear spread through the crowd. Nobody entered those caves. The elders believed evil spirits lived there. Many who entered never returned. But Kelechi stepped forward. I will go. Chinedu immediately answered. You will not go alone. Chief Obiora looked at his sons. For 20 years he had lost one child. He would not lose both. Yet he knew destiny had already called them. The twins entered the caves carrying only torches. Behind them came several hunters. The deeper they walked, the colder the air became. Strange markings covered the walls. Ancient symbols. Forgotten names. And then they found him. Elder Maduka sat alone beside an underground fire. He looked 20 years older. His eyes were filled with madness. When he saw Kelechi, he began laughing. So the child survived. Chief Obiora stepped forward. Why? Maduka looked at his old friend. because the kingdom was never yours. Everyone became silent. The old man stood. My father should have been chief. Your father stole the throne. He pointed toward Kalechi. The prophecy said Ngozi's second son would become the greatest ruler Umadura ever knew. His eyes burned with hatred. And when the people love one family too much, they forget everyone else. Chief Obiora whispered. So you killed Ngozi? Maduka nodded. The chief began shaking. And you used Izinye? Yes. And you tried to kill my son? Yes. The old man's voice became cold. I waited 20 years to destroy everything you loved. Suddenly the cave began to tremble. Rocks fell. The underground fire exploded. The ancient walls cracked open. The village priest shouted, "The ancestors are angry." Maduka laughed wildly. If I cannot have the kingdom, nobody will. He lifted a torch and threw it toward old barrels hidden inside the cave. Oil. The flames spread instantly. The cave began collapsing. The hunters fled. Chief Obiora fell beneath falling rocks. Chinedu rushed to save him. But another stone trapped Chinedu's leg. The fire moved closer. Smoke filled the air. And for a moment, Kalechi faced an impossible choice. Save his father, save his brother, or escape. Maduka watched him. Choose. The young man looked upward. Then he remembered his mother's words. Protect them. He lifted the stone trapping Chinedu. Together the twins carried their father. The hunters helped them reach the entrance. Only one person remained inside. Elder Maduka. The old man stood surrounded by flames. His hatred had finally consumed him. And as the cave collapsed, his screams disappeared beneath the earth. The river swallowed the entrance forever. Months later, Chief Obiora recovered. Before the entire village, he removed his royal staff. He knelt before Kalechi. My son, forgive me. Kalechi lifted his father. The dead cannot return, but the living can still heal. Even Izinne stood before him. She expected anger, punishment, exile. Instead, Kalechi spoke quietly. You stole 20 years from me. Tears flowed down her face. But hatred has already destroyed enough lives. The village elders stripped her of her position. She lived the rest of her life serving widows and the poor. Her son Ikem also changed. For the first time, he worked beside ordinary villagers. The pride his mother had planted slowly disappeared. 1 year later, Chief Obiora died peacefully. The people gathered to choose the next ruler. Everyone expected Kalechi. After all, the prophecy belonged to him. But Kalechi surprised the kingdom. He stood beside his brother and placed the royal staff into Chinedu's hands. The crowd gasped. Chinedu looked shocked. You are the chosen one. Kalechi smiled. The prophecy said I would save the kingdom. He looked toward the people. It never said I must rule it. The entire village began to cry. Because after 20 years of separation, the brothers had become stronger together than they ever could apart. Chinedu became chief. Kalechi became the protector of Umadara. And Mama Ada, the poor widow who had saved an abandoned child, was honored as the mother of the kingdom. Like, subscribe, and share for more interesting stories.